Well, I did end up adding a little embellishment toward the end here, but I want to show you what I do in order to try to get some consistency between the left and the right. So first I'm just going to sketch in, which is what's more or less the distance between these head strokes. I don't know if you can tell with pencil what I'm doing here. And then around at about here, I'm going to have the transition or the connection stroke. So then that'll tell me that my spine or connection line is going to be about there, the upper one. Then I'm going to be having my first big S right in about here. And so that's going to tell me that my bottom connection line or dots are going to be right there. Then I want to try to make sure that I've got the right angle going on and about the same spacing. I don't like go and count, but maybe that would be a good idea or something. I mean, I've got after the transition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 true ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You know, these are just approximations. It's mostly to tell me what angle I want to be at. So now I turn it over and now I begin the work. I don't know. I don't think Claire actually sits there and counts, but I could be wrong. All right, so first we put in our initial strokes. And I'm going to need to clean my blade. I didn't do that. It's getting a little gummy. Okay. And then, just like before, we're just doing a very nice little kind of skinny curve and a curving longer line. And then the next one is going to come up a little bit higher with also that curving line. And the last one is also coming up further yet. And it's also leaning more in, I would say. And then again, just so I don't forget, because I have done that, like I said, I'm putting in these intermediate nanostrokes. Okay, so now I'm making my connection or transition strokes here. And out of that, and look at that, it's just almost like I predicted where it would be. I'm making my upper dotted line to get to 0.6. Now I'm not doing the bottom dotted line yet because I haven't set up the stage for it. So the first thing that I'm doing is making my big first S. And then I'm creating a nice connecting C stroke and bringing that all the way out there. And that's actually going to be where my, more or less, my bottom dots are coming out of. So I don't need to worry about turning the pad again, the latex again. I'm going to add another C stroke there. And then a boot to close this one up here, and kind of a longer stroke coming in. That's a pattern that will be repeated later, but I did it on the first one, so you already know about it. Okay, so I'm starting my S's, and we start them short and getting progressively a little bit taller and a little bit flatter, but keeping the space between them equal. Don't get too excited about reaching that lower dotted line, but sooner or later it's going to happen. And that means that your strokes are getting longer and flatter. So they really are falling down. So this one I bring through to the upper line, and then this final one is just along the bottom. My cat's tapping because he thinks it's dinner time. We have to go through this every day. It's not dinner time yet. Okay, so now I'm going to be going to the, from upside down, I'm going to the right side of each of these S strokes, and I'm making a long curving line that's coming up and intersecting more or less with the upper series of dots, that is the spine. So you have to be curving your wrist as you go. And again, I do hold the tool differently because that's how I learned it. Although I catch myself lots of times and I'm not even touching it with my index finger. So, you know, I don't know. When you're doing things on muscle memory, you're not really breaking it down and thinking about it too much. I had no idea really how I was doing it until somebody else brought it up to me that I wasn't doing it right. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to change something I've been doing for 2.5 years now, so sorry. Not unless it's clearly leading to problems. And the one advantage I thought about with it is by resting the tool on the middle finger and not using the index finger to guide, you're keeping a pretty light touch. But that still isn't enough for me to make that change. All right, now I'm going to the also to the right side of each of these, and I'm creating a boot. Every time I say that, I feel like I'm, you know, trying to mimic a Canadian, and it makes me feel bad. But I am just saying a boot. Sorry. Probably nobody else would have even have thought that if I hadn't said it. I'm not carrying this all the way up and over the curve of the spine. I really don't need to. I'm just putting that in there. I guess as I get farther down and I get flatter, I do tend to drag it up more. But, you know, you still in real life have to be cognizant of overcutting the client's skin. You don't want to be going over it multiple times. That was kind of a crap job, but oh well. Now I'm going over here and to the, I don't know how to explain it, but to the far left, I'm now putting a shorter stroke, and I am bringing that one up and wrapping it around to the spine or connecting stroke. I gotta wipe my blade. There's always going to be skin or latex stuck in your blades, so just always wipe it. The Fee blades, when you buy them, they don't have a pigment ring, which is a bummer, but they do have a little thing for sticking right onto you right here to be wiping. And when I first transitioned to using the Beauty Angels products, that kept wiping my latex or my nitrile glove right there. I'd be going like, you know, what are you doing? I mean, at least once I even opened it. So as I'm going, I mean, you see what I'm doing, but there's still plenty of space existing between the strokes. And that we need to close up now. So I'm going to go start down low and bring it up, assuming there's ink or, you know, enough pigment on your tool to begin with. You know, this is just a matter of closing up the blank spaces. Well, not closing them up, but filling them. Because if this were a real eyebrow, you don't want it to look like the person has a little hole in their eyebrow somewhere. So I might be running out of room right there to try to do it before I've cleaned it. So on the other one, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, and then tail strokes. So I kind of want to replicate that over here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the tail strokes. 1, 2, and and 3. All right. So I want to make sure that I'm making contact with the spine, the connection line. And I'm also kind of making reference to the other side to make sure I'm not putting too many strokes here compared to over there. You want them to look symmetrical. I think I'm doing okay. I'm not positive. I just end up questioning myself and then screwing up. But see, just look like on the other brow, I'm able to bring this stroke in here to kind of make that connection. Okay, now let's clean this up and see where we have gaps, if we have gaps. And also making sure that the key points that we need are there. So the head strokes look more or less similar. I'm not loving this first, on this side, this first S. So it's a little bit clunky. I'm going to see if I can just add a little finesse to it. Which is not something I normally do in this position anyway. I'm going to need a new wet wipe before I get too much farther. Then that makes this side look like it's not very busy. So this is just like doing hair. You know, you add, you take away, you add. I'm going to regret that, probably. But then otherwise, in looking at the two sides, they're similar enough in slant and in number of strokes. The ending part looks not too bad. There's more space here at this tail. These tail strokes are have more space between them. So I'm just gonna try to lengthen a few of them. Just to get rid of that empty space. So one of the things that I always notice is that my right, the client's left brow, is always lighter. And I think it's because I work upside down over here. So I'm going to put a mask on this one. I'll probably end up putting one on the other side too. But while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to also try to lengthen a couple of these. Strokes. So they're similar to the other side. But I don't want to make this side darker than it already is compared to this one. So, I don't know how well you can see them and what you think of them. Here, why don't I just take the camera and point it at them. It looks like, now I feel like I want to mask the other side too. So I'm going to do that. And then we'll just see. I'm going to turn this one in and we'll see.